everyone out there. This is Chris, and I had promised you a while back that I wanted to do a documentary series on the researchers out there that are exploring and looking into the Bigfoot phenomena. And so I'm going to deliver on that, and I'm going to show you some fantastic guys that's been doing this for years, okay? And so we're going to ask them some candid questions, and we're just going to get down to just the nuts and bolts of all this this Bigfooting stuff that goes on, okay? All right, so we'll introduce the guys, and we'll let them have a chance to talk, and I hope you enjoy it.
My name is David Sidoti. I've been doing this research for over 20 years. Had quite a few experiences with these creatures. Over the 20 years, you know, it's been, what do you say, interesting, to say the least.
Oh yeah.
How these creatures act and how intelligent they are. And I have found that we're dealing with an intelligent creature, or I don't know if you want to call it a hybrid human or a primate like ourselves.
Yeah.
But very highly intelligent. In my opinion, they are king of the forest.
I've been searching Sasquatch for about 44 years now.
Wow.
Started out in Washington State, researched there, and then moved to Ohio. Continued my research there, and I've been in Florida for about 2 years now. And I have had some pretty good evidence and experiences here in Florida.
I've been charged one time out here in the Green Swamp. I've been out here now researching here in this area for about, I'd say about 10 years in the Green Swamp.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, it is. And I've been doing it for 15 years.
And if they don't want to be seen, they won't be seen. My experience is I've heard footfalls in one of the areas that you share go into, and that happened probably about 2 years ago.
Wow. So so when you heard that, you know, what was going through your mind at that time?
Well, first thing was like, oh shit, I got one right behind me. And,
yeah. Well, so what happens? What goes through your mind?
Well,
you know, what goes through your mind when that happens to you?
Through my mind, I was like, of course I had the camera rolling, and at the time I had my GoPro with me, and the audio wasn't really clear or really good on that, and since then fixed that issue. But when I first got it, I could physically hear the footfalls. It sounded like a two-legged elephant going through the woods.
Wow.
Best way I can describe it. And it moved fast. It was, you know, a good clip getting out of the area. It saw me, didn't want me to be there, or it didn't want to be there either. So it just started taking off. And I mean, it was, like I said, it sounded very heavy, two-legged, and gone in a matter of seconds.
Yeah. Do you think it was fleeing you, or was it already observing you? You think, or?
I think it was observing me, what I was doing there, and this just so happens to be near a pond. It's a spring-fed pond. You can actually see the bottom and see fish in there. And it was in that area where I saw it, where I heard it. Never saw it because the vegetation was pretty thick, but you could hear it clearly. So as I heard that, I started recording in that area, trying to hopefully get a visual on it, which I never did because of the foliage was so thick. So I walked over into the area very quietly, as quiet as I could be as a human in there, and it was gone. It's like it vanished, disappeared. I mean, anything that sounded that heavy going through the wood line, you think you'd be able to see it as you approached it and got into that area where you heard it. And when I got into that area where I heard it, you couldn't see anything. So either it was hiding, you know, they're the masters of camouflage. I mean, you can walk right past them, not even see them, so it either hunkered down and hid from me while I was there and just stayed there and not moved.
Yeah, because you didn't hear it. You didn't hear it continue on.
Continue on, yeah. So wherever it went to, it bedded down or hid or something, and I couldn't see it physically with my eyes. And but it was rather interesting. Finding an infant track last year. I think it was last year or the year before. In a section out here that we research, and actually a hunter found it, and he said there's nothing out here that would make that track except for a skunk ape.
So the hunters are on board.
Oh yeah,
a lot of hunters
yeah.
are.
And after interviewing the hunter, he said that if he was one of those things, it would be living out in that area where that track came from.
You know, me and my son one time went in the green swamp off the road, probably walked in about a half mile, I guess, set up a dare cam, you know, with some bait. And it was getting dark, so we headed out back to the road, and on the way out, you know, something charged me and the ground was shaking. And I turned around expecting to see something or being pounced on, you know. And I turned around, there was nothing there, you know, so I don't know how to explain that, and I don't want to speculate what it could have been or what, but, you know, to me, it was something big, heavy, like a bull, and there was nothing there. It was just quiet. And so I don't know how to explain that.
Right. So it's an interesting account. You know, you say it's like you know, it's kind of like a bull, like the size of a bull. You know, but
Right. It was just something that was just toying with me, wanting me to, you know, intimidate me and get me out of the area.
did you have fear, or was you
yeah.
scared for your life? Was it one of those moments?
I was definitely afraid, yes. You know, I had the hair sticking up back of my neck, you know, I was like wanting to get out, retreat fast.
Yeah.
And my son was probably about 10 feet in front of me, and he turned around too because he felt the vibration in the ground shaking, and he's looking at me, and I'm trying not to show fear, you know, because I don't want to scare him, but I'm like, you know, let's get out of here because something's toying with us, you know, trying to intimidate us to get us out. So
Okay, so that's a pretty awesome story, but, you know, but I have to ask this question right here.
Sure.
That seemed like you had a pretty much of an ordeal right there. So, okay, fine. Let's put this in perspective here. You turn around and nothing? There was nothing there.
Nothing there. But it was dark, and there was a lot of pimento bushes around, so could have had duck behind a pimento bush at the last second, maybe. But I just don't see how that's possible when it was right behind me. But
So you turn around. You turn around. I guess you turned around because you thought maybe it was going to be.
well, I thought I was going to get pounced on.
I want to see what's going to eat me, you know,
Right.
or what's fixing to
Something's
snatch
gonna
me.
tear my
you
head
know.
off or what, you know. So,
Let me turn around and at least get the last look at what's fixing to pounce me and eat me, you know, for
Right.
dinner right here, you know. All right, but hold on. Okay, so hold on. You turn around and you see nothing. What goes through your mind, John?
I was baffled, you know, because you think that something's creating this, you know, vibration on the ground that feels like it's a freaking size of a bull. You turn around, there's nothing there, and my mind's just trying to determine really fast what's going on, and I didn't have any answers, you know. So, I mean,
So what do you think it was?
I'm thinking it was probably a Bigfoot, but, you know, I just don't know how it could be there and not be there at the same time. So I don't want to go on to the paranormal side or anything like that. I believe they're flesh and blood, but, you know, how do you explain something like that? I have no clue. I mean, I don't think they're playing by the same rules that we're playing by. That's all I can say.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever had any other encounters that you would think that is like, you know, obviously that's unique, or?
I had quite a few
I mean,
encounters.
you said you had the auto. Did the auto recorder happen to you that one time as well, or did the footsteps with the auto recorder, or was that someone else? Or
Oh, I did. Yeah, I did set up a camera trap with the audio recorder on the tree because I wanted to prove something, maybe that there might be out there watching us when we were putting the dare cam up. And what happened was, when I came back about a week later to pick up the camera, I picked it up, came home, turned on the auto, you know, listened to the audio recordings, and as my truck is leaving, something walked up to the tree behind it, bipedal, you can hear it walk up, pivot, and then turn around and go out the same way. So that tells me that something was there watching me put up my game cam. And
So what did you think once you realized that?
that was pretty.
I mean, come on, you just came to the conclusion that something was there.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, I know this. You just came to the conclusion that you were.
It's pretty scary because, you know, knowing I was out in the woods, you know, 5 miles in, and I was the only one out there, and there was nobody out there. It was just me, and, you know, I could have been killed, you know. So that's why I feel it's important, you know, you need to use the buddy system when you go out there because you don't know what could happen.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I proved that, you know, these things are watching us sometimes, putting up a deer cam, and that's why they know how to avoid them, you know, or maybe they're sensing some type of sound that it's, you know.
Well, that's pretty hair-raising, thinking that something was watching you the entire time. You know,
Yeah,
I mean,
it
if you
freaked me
think
out.
about that.
It definitely freaked me out.
Wow, it's hard to fathom like that. You know.
But it knew not to go in front of the game cam, you know.
So what was what was the surrounding area like? What was the vegetation like? Was it very dense, or was it more of an open area? Or?
It was a game trail, you know, that deers were using, maybe pigs.
Uh-huh.
You know. So I figured it was a good spot to put up a game camera, and sure enough, you know, there's something there watching me the whole time, and that's just
Wow.
pretty scary.
That was a pretty interesting story in itself too. Also, what have you?
A few years ago, I did find what I call a tree twist.
Yeah.
And it was a white birch tree. This was in Ohio. Something had actually, along a game trail, took this tree and actually twisted it into a pretzel. And I actually have a photograph of that.
Wow.
I actually have the sapling, in fact.
Wow. So
I took it home with me.
So how I'm going to use the word squatchy. You know, how squatchy is Ohio
Well,
from, you know, is it what everybody has said? Or?
Yes. It
And
is.
more, huh?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
Now this tree was probably a good 2.5 inches in diameter. Just for the heck of it, I grabbed one similar, and I could not do that. It took superhuman strength to turn that tree into a pretzel.
Right. So you saw some amazing stuff. I'm just
Yes.
curious, do they still call it Bigfoot up there? Or
Yeah, it was Bigfoot, Sasquatch.
they say hairy man too? Or grass man? They call it?
Grassman, yeah.
Really? I've
We
heard
hear
that on TV, and I don't know if that was just TV talk or not.
Yeah,
Really, they call it grass man up
Yes.
there. And that's like we call it skunk ape, but the skunk isn't always. I mean,
Yeah, it's not.
have you ever ran across the skunk smell, David?
One time me and John did on the other side of the power lines.
Yes, we definitely experienced
Yeah.
some
After we heard
smell.
of this loud
Yeah.
yell, and it was about 2:00 in the morning. I was about to leave because I wasn't staying the night, and John and his buddy were camping there, and I said, "Well, it's dead quiet. I'm going to leave." As soon as it came out of my mouth, we heard this yell, and
Wow, wait a
We
minute!
heard this
You heard a yell. So
about 50 yards behind us or less.
do you kind of remember how it sounded like, or was it just?
It was a loud, very loud, almost like a siren type, and it went 2 different octaves, from low to high real quick.
Really?
And it was only within a matter of less than 10 seconds.
So what do you do when you? I mean, how far away do you think it was?
I would say within less than 50 or 40 yards from where we were camping at. And this is
Wow.
also an area where we're getting knocks and things walking around our campsite.
Lord.
And but that night particularly, when we heard that, we went out, lights out, and went in and try to locate it. And as we were walking in, I could smell a little sulfur or skunky type smell very briefly, and it went away.
Yeah, and you were out there too, John.
Yeah, I was with the.
You were out there too. What do you remember from it?
I just remembered a loud, like a yell, scream, and then that smell that followed it when we went in to investigate, you know, the direction where it came from, and yeah, it was just like a skunk smell, you know, like a very strong, bad odor. And but we didn't see anything, but you know, it was probably gone by then.
Yeah. Well, my own personal experience with this odor is, I don't know if you guys can agree with it or not. We'll see. It's not always present during activity. Would y'all agree with that? The
Yeah.
smell.
Well, I guess it all depends, you know, if you're upwind or downwind, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
I think they use it as
A defense, maybe?
I wouldn't say defense. I think they use it as part of their hunting skills. What what things out in the wild are normal smelling. Dead animals. Their particular smell that they can, however they create it, smells like something's dead or rotting. And a lot of reports that you'll read, you'll hear it smelled like this, it smelled like that, it smelled like something rotting. Well, they do, however they produce it themselves, I think is probably one of their hunting tactics. If you do research on grizzly bears or any kind of bear, a lot of bears will roll in dead animals after they kill it to go on the hunt for others, because that dead smell, and the same thing with smoke and fire, that's all natural out in the wild.
Mm-hmm.
So these natural scents that they smells that they use is natural to other animals. But I think they use that smell to hunt with, or to deter people from getting close to them.
Yeah.
As far as humans go, if you smell something dead, it's putrid, you don't want to get any closer to it. You almost dry heave to the point where you don't want to get there.
Do you have do you have any kind of what's going through your head if you're running across a smell like that? I mean, is it more of a I need to get up on out here and leave, or
Me,
you
no.
just suck it up and you get the experience out of it?
For me, that's a clue.
Yeah, something's not right, right?
I smell something dead. Let's go check it out.
Something's not right. Let's go have another look,
Let's
huh?
go see if it's a dead animal or if it's a Sasquatch, you know. But I think they may use that to two different advantages. One, to scare humans out of an area, because you hear that many times, is that people smell that and they want to go and get away. But usually when they smell something like that too, they also get a visual of these creatures.
So you think it's possibly they can control one type of smell, maybe?
Yeah. Well, they can control however they secrete that smell.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's done.
Yeah, and hairy things. I mean, in this Florida heat, we all know things can have an odor in this Florida heat. Can you guys?
Can I?
Can you describe maybe?
I have heard people say that they've smelled the rotten smell, and this is in the middle of winter in Ohio. So it's not like they were walking around in 100-degree weather to secrete the smell.
Yeah, because it's not going to rot
Right.
in freezing temperatures. It's going to be preserved then, right? Mm-hmm.
But it's sometimes you smell it, sometimes you don't. A lot of sightings you read, did you smell anything? Oh no, I didn't smell anything. But I think in more aggressive encounters, you would get that smell. First, the smell is going to hit you, and then you may have an encounter in that same time frame.
Have you guys? Smell. We talked about smell. Another subject I was curious to see if you've had any things on also is vocals. Vocals, and I mean, have you successfully possibly maybe thought you had an interaction with them, or have you heard of any things like this? I mean, mumblings,
Chatter.
Yeah. I mean, have you guys ran across any of this stuff
Yes.
before? You have?
I came across growling before when I was wood knocking. Every time I would knock, I would get a growl. It was like a low frequency, which shook me.
So you instigated the knock,
Yes,
and you think there was a reply going on, and it was more of a growl.
I believe it was right there watching me wood knock and didn't like that, and it'd growl, and it felt like bass, like the teenagers in their cars. You know how the bass travels.
Uh-huh.
Sort of hit me like that.
You
and,
felt it.
I felt it, and it felt like whatever was causing this, low growl was huge because of the noise. It scared me. I didn't want to go in there. And every time I would knock, it would growl. So it didn't like me wood knocking. So.
Daggone. Wow.
We also heard whistles.
Oh yeah, mimic. I've got a mimic
The
before
mimic.
from you. Yeah, we've had a mimic from you also. Yeah, I was out here when that happened.
We've had whistles here in this location, and wood knocks, and also whistles and another location not too far from here. I think I do believe they do mimic other animals. Again, probably for communication, just like the Indians used to do when they went on their hunts. They would communicate with each other, but they wouldn't speak. They would use animal calls, and they would mimic animals to let the other Indian hunters know where they were located at. So I think these things do the same thing. That way they don't give up their own location to us as humans.
Right, so you're saying they use an animal sound to identify possibly their strategy that's going on,
Exactly.
so you're not clued in on them.
Right. And it
Possibly.
could possibly mean with different sounds that they mimic could mean something different to them of what they should do or act while we're in the area.
I understand.
That's where that intelligence comes from.
Mm.
That's a possibility. That's a speculative possibility. But is it far-fetched? I don't think so.
My experience with that is I caught on voice recorder what sounded like Native Americans talking in the woods when there's nobody there.
Okay, so
Something was
can you clarify when you say when there's nobody there? Is this at nighttime or
Yes.
broad daylight, or?
This particular one was around 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, in the middle of the night.
How close were these sounds, or the vocals?
I don't know. There was, along with the vocals, there was tree knocks also. I felt like they were herding deer into a particular field, so they may have been on a hunt.
Oh, okay. So have you guys detected what you would think is any patterns with these knocks? I mean, have you been out there at all where you think patterns might occur with knocks, or?
Usually, if the pattern I hear a lot and witness a lot is if you're in the location, especially coming out here, you're the only people out here, or a few people out here, anyhow. You'll hear a knock right off the bat.
When
And
you
may
come
mean-
in.
Yeah, that may mean something to them, like, okay, here, they're back again. Whatever the knock means to them, it puts them on alert. So, but then you may hear more that same night, and whatever the knocks mean to them, we can speculate what we think they are.
Do you guys think they have sentries?
I think they do.
Like
If you're
Like you just said, when you come up here, there'll be a knock.
There'll be
So
a
that
knock.
seems to me like that possibly could be like someone that's on the watch,
Exactly.
or someone designated to be on the watch.
I think so, because one time me and John were out here in this location, he got an experience that he didn't like, and I think it was one of those, as you say, a sentry
So
coming into camp, checking us out what we were doing there, and it kind of freaked him out.
And also, not just knocks, but usually they will whistle too. I guess if they're really close,
Right.
what we heard is when we come back into the campsite, we would hear a whistle. And I think that's another way they communicate to let the others know that we're back, into the campsite, keep the guard up.
Experience. Tell them your
Right.
experience when you were camping out here, when you heard that, or when you felt that way in the back of your truck.
Yeah, this was last year.
Oh, I remember this one. Go for it.
Yeah, out here last year, I was camping in my in the tent back of my truck, and there was a loud commotion about 2:30 in the morning. Like something big ran in, and then everything just took off running. Like I don't know if there was deer or pigs in the campsite. And it was just a loud noise, explosion of just noises. Like everything just taking off running, like a predator was in the area. And I woke up and I was just.
Wait a minute. You said you were in the back of your
I
truck.
was back in my truck.
In a tent.
In a tent.
Okay, in a tent though. Okay.
Yes.
So you had that 1 millimeter of fabric protecting, right?
Right. I wasn't in my camper. I was in a tent. So I woke up and I was just, I had this fear overcome me, and I was just scared, like I couldn't move, like I was paralyzed. I never experienced that, never. And I read reports about it, and I was like, why would someone be that scared? But now, I don't know what it was, but it's just a sense of a predator in the area, and I had to force myself to get out and run to my truck to go into the cab and take cover there, because I knew there was something big, and I knew I was being watched, because after the loud explosion of noises, then it became awfully quiet. pitch quiet, like something's big's in an area and it's watching you, and I didn't like that feeling at all. So
So you said,
fight or flight, and I took off into my cab and locked the door.
right, as in, like, okay, I heard enough, I'm out of here.
Yes.
I'm out of here.
And that possibly could have been a sentry checking us out,
Uh-huh.
in the area, because that was the first night when we came here. There was a family over there with actually two big dogs in the camp area too. And the next morning I get up and I see one of the ladies walking the dogs, and she came right over to me. She goes, "Did you hear that weird noise last night?" And I said, "No, what was it?" And then John was still asleep in his truck.
No, he was
I thought
he was cowered in his cab, is where he was.
Well, I thought he was still in the back of his tent.
He said, "Oh, I'm out of here."
His tent was still up in the back of his truck, and I thought he was still in there. And I was trying to be quiet, not to wake him up, And she goes, "Well, did you hear that noise?" And I said, "No. What did it sound like?" And she goes, "Well, it sounded like a loud gruff or something that just, was really kind of loud." And she goes, "Then the pigs took off, and whatever made the noise made the pigs take off out of the area."
Yeah,
And that was probably the sound what he heard. The big
and we know the pig is the king in the swamp out here, man.
Right. And I didn't hear anything because unfortunately I was snoring and I was dead tired that night. But I asked her, I said, "Well, did your dogs react to it?" And she said, "No, they sat there awake,
And
calmly,
they didn't.
and they could hear what was going on, but they didn't do anything. They didn't make a sound. The dogs
So
did.
they were hunkered down and not moving then.
Exactly.
Afraid, that's what it sounds like.
So to sum it up that night, what was it, guys? What do you think it was?
I mean, if I had to take a guess, I would say it was probably the Florida skunk ape. Because it put a fear over me, and that's why I took cover.
Do you think this fear can be induced? As in not just human fear, as in I'm fixing to get eaten, so I'm going to run for my life.
Yeah,
No,
I
do you
mean,
think it can be induced with something like, this is very commonly.
like a pheromone or something?
No, a lot of people say infrasound. A lot of people say there's something like infrasound. I even heard Dr. Meldrum talk on a video about a year or so ago of they're saying that there is plenty of evidence of regular, normal, typical animals
Yeah,
that are on the
elephants.
earth that have this ability,
Elephants do.
and that he is also starting to go on the record and stating that this could be entirely within the realm of Sasquatch activity also. So obviously we don't have a body. We don't have a
Right.
body. We don't have anything to dissect or anything like that. But we're starting to have more academics coming up with this subject. So back to the question: Did you suddenly become in fear, or was it because of the commotion that made you fear?
I think it was just a commotion, because there's something big in the campsite, and I can hear something like, I don't know if it was like a trot, but something charged in real fast, and that's what I sensed, and put me into a fear. But
Yeah.
That's the first time it's ever happened. I've been out here 10 years now camping, and I've never experienced that before. So, yeah.
Wow. So it can be. Oh yeah, and we heard that howl. We heard that howl earlier. I remember that. Yeah. I didn't spend the night with you guys, but I remember the howl.
The howl, yeah.
Yeah, we went out there night. Yeah.
But it, can they project a fear over you? I think anything could. A grizzly coming up behind you, it would be the same type of fear, I would think, like your life is in danger. And as humans, that sensory kicks off inside you, like, okay, something's not right, I can feel it, and 9 times out of 10, your feelings are right on. I don't know if they can project something like that, if it's infrasound. It's possible. Other animals on the planet can do it. Why can't they? I'm sure they could. They could possibly do it to humans as well. I mean, you hear reports of people seeing having encounters, face-to-face encounters, and they're like frozen in fear. They couldn't do anything, and it doesn't matter if you have a camera or a gun in your hand. Your first reaction in your brain is trying to figure out what the heck it is and how am I going to stay alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not grabbing the camera up or grabbing the gun to react to it.
Yeah.
it just totally throws you off.
Okay. So, there's a term. I'm not using the term derogatory. Okay, by no means. I think out in the Pacific Northwest, the term is used as woo.
Yeah.
So we're not meaning woo as derogatory. It just means like the unusual things that cannot be explained by normal scientific means.
Right.
So when it comes to the infrasound and have you experienced anything like this?
I have not, but I've heard that hunters have experienced where they've actually watched a Sasquatch walk up to a deer and just literally pick it up. The deer was frozen as these sounds were being emitted. And if you get in front of these sounds that I've heard, the hunter says you can feel your guts vibrate.
So you feel it.
Yes, you can feel it. And the after effect is you're sick. You're actually literally throwing up.
Have you guys ever felt, well, hold on, have you ever felt like you've been suddenly become nauseous or anything like that? Or, I mean, have you, John? Or
Never experienced
I haven't,
that.
yeah.
no sudden nausea, or how about any loss of time or loss of memory? I mean, I was out one time and I had done something out there that I didn't remember that I did. I mean, I didn't remember that I did that one time until I reviewed the footage, and I was like, oh my God, I mean, I remember it now. So, I've had some personal experiences out here as well. And, how do you wrap your arms around this? I mean, what the heck is it?
Well, you hear that a lot too with encounters that people, especially the one recently that came about this year on the east coast of Florida. This guy was just in his kayak fishing, checking out an area, and he got charged by one. Afterwards, after he's trying to figure out what it was, long story short on that, he says he does not remember. He had to kayak 45 minutes to get to this spot to go fishing. He says after the event happened, the encounter happened, he says he does not recall how he got back to his truck. He knows when he got back home that he was sick. His wife said you look like you saw a ghost. He didn't have control of his bowels.
So he told you he had no memory of making it back to the truck?
He did.
Or he just didn't remember
He
getting...
just remember he knew he had to get out of there, and he was so struck with fear that
But
he doesn't know how he got there. Got back to his truck, but he knew he did.
Yeah, but memory scientists and people that study the body's ability to using short-term memory, long-term memory, they will simply say that it's just a traumatic event for the person. The brain automatically tries to throw it away or try to stash it away.
Okay.
What do y'all say about this stuff? I
Probably
mean,
like shock, I would imagine.
do you find this is reported
Oh, yeah.
often enough?
Oh yeah, they're a lot.
In other words, is there something to it?
Is there something to the fear or the
Well,
infrasound type?
the things that we call the unexplainable. What is there something to it or not? Is it? Can you
Could
just?
be. There could be a lot to it. If it's something that they can produce, infrasound, say, maybe it's to insit in your brain that. I mean, this guy, he's totally PTSD after what he saw, and I don't know if it's something that they can control to do to humans, possibly.
So what do you tell Dave? What do you tell someone when they share something like this to you that
It's hard
that they
because-
have no memory of something?
Yeah, it's like I don't know, it's part of that brain where your brain is still trying to process what just happened, and in the process of your brain trying to do that, you don't recall what you did from point A to point B.
It's like file 13.
Right.
Don't forget about it.
Exactly, because your brain is working overtime trying to figure out what just happened.
Right.
And with the infrasound thing, I think he might have experienced that because of the sickness he had,
Mm-hmm.
the loss of bowel control.
Wow. It sounds like he had a pretty interesting.
Oh yeah, he did.
event.
He's heard of Bigfoot stuff, but he's never really done any research on it. He wasn't even expecting something like this to happen. He didn't really put a lot of belief in it until the day he actually seen this thing come charging after him.
That's what a lot of people always say. That a lot of times what I hear a lot of times is, oh, I've been hunting in the swamp my entire life.
Right.
Been hunting in my swamp the entire life. I never thought anything like this was legitimate or real until that day.
Yeah.
So a lot of times we hear this, and a lot of times I hear there's nothing in the swamp. I hear this as well. But I always tell people, like this, it's not going to matter to you, or it's not important to you until it happens to you.
Right.
Then all of a sudden you're going to want, or you're going to wish people would listen to you or have had knowledge on this subject that they can help you with what has happened to you, and you know, and that you can share with these people that know they're not crazy, or know they're entirely this is entirely legitimate stuff. But I hear this also too, guys. Have you ever had, let me ask you this, have you ever had anything or personally felt, I know I've heard this out of other researchers as well, so let's get your take.
Sure.
Disorientation?
I haven't
Ever-
had any. I haven't had any disorientation. No.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's because being maybe too prepared when I go out and do this. I look at all the pitfalls that may happen or may not happen. You know, I do all the what ifs, but I come prepared when I go, and I may be too prepared, but I've never experienced any disorientation.
How about you, John?
Close to these
I never
creatures.
experienced that either, no. Never been in that situation.
No disorientation then? Mhm.
None.
No disorientation as well?
Not that it couldn't happen. I'm sure it could.
Well, it could happen legitimately and physically that you made a goof.
Right, you made a goof. Or,
You made a goof. You went down the wrong area and you thought you was right, but you was wrong.
yeah.
Yeah.
It ain't-
Maybe when someone's dehydrated, you know, when they're hiking for many hours in the sun, you're not drinking any water, I can see that happening.
Yeah, that's a physical.
Or if you're dehydrated.
Yeah, and then that becomes a physical problem. You screwed up. You know, you didn't take care of yourself physically. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah,
Exactly,
completely.
so.
Yeah, I would say just walk the trails and watch.
Okay, so what would be a key?
And listen.
What would be a key sign you would tell a person?
I can just tell what I find. Your tree knocks is very common. Pay attention. I heard tree knocks 25 years ago before there was a thing called tree knocks.
Exactly.
I didn't know what they were.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a woodpecker or something. And then years later, all of a sudden, a man named Don Keating linked it in Ohio to this must be Sasquatch making these tree knocks.
Yeah, we
And it's stuck ever since.
That's right, because we had the birth of the internet. We can freely share information.
I just wish I would have figured it out then. I heard them. I've been paralleled before, and the
Yeah.
tree knocks will follow you, and
Mhm.
the tree branches breaking, and even trees falling.
Yeah, we've heard slams before too.
They're
Yeah.
hurrying you out of there, and they're doing a doggone good job. Because by the time you get to the trailhead, you're ready to go.
Uh huh. So it's
I would also say on a safety standpoint, or
yeah. What would you tell people?
I would say be prepared. Always come prepared. Like if you're gonna be out there for a week, even if you're going for a day.
Okay, so survival, like prepare
Yeah.
in case you break your
Exactly.
leg, break your foot, or
Exactly. You,
break a bone.
I'm big on safety, survival. Even when we go out on these groups, I make sure everyone's safe. I make sure I know where everybody's at. There's some noise going on over here.
Sound like a deer or
They're
something.
watching us.
Sound like a deer or something.
But being safe and doing this is first and foremost, and knowing where everybody's at, and being in communication with each other.
Yeah.
Is you want to go out and have an enjoyable time researching, but you also want to come back.
Yeah.
Back to reality.
Yeah. Okay,
And,
cool. So, yeah, you got to stay grounded. You got to stay grounded somehow. Exactly. Yeah. So,
And also, you do your research. I mean, people say we keep throwing that out there. Do your research. Do your research. How do we know? What do we look for? You know, these things is part of your research before you even step out the door. I call it armchair researching, because a lot of that is helpful, because you're just like sitting in a classroom. You're teaching yourself what these other people have already done.
mhm.
You're walking in their footsteps, and asking questions, asking the right questions, learning from people that experience things. That's all part of it. It's all part of it. And knowing what to look for, knowing what to listen to, and knowing where to go is all part of it.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, guys. Would y'all be willing to? We can schedule this if you wanted to do that. Would you be game, or would you be willing for me to come along and film you live in action?
Yeah.
Come along and tag along right behind you, and I won't interfere. I'll just be the viewer's eyes.
Okay.
You know, would you be game for something like that? You just need to let me know. I'm willing to do it. And
Right.
you know, so would y'all be game for something like that?
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Take me along. Would you want to do it at nighttime or daytime?
Both.
Night and day.
However you want.
Night and day. So y'all think about that. You know, I'm game. I'll put it out there and we'll see. But okay. So I'd like to say to each and every one of you, thank you very much for your time.
Very welcome.
Thank you.
And you know, and I'll do the best I can and put it and edit it together. And like I said, this will be part of the a documentary type series. All right. Okay. So thank you very much for your time. And till we meet again, just let me know. Okay.
All
All right. Okay. Bye bye. How can viewers, if they're in this region, in this part of Florida, right? Do you mind working with other people or total strangers, or you know,
I
how do
don't
people get in contact with
Yeah,
you?
they can contact me on my website,
Uh-huh.
which is www.isrtusa.com.